Hello, everyone. Welcome to our regular community AMA call that we have for BrightID. And this week we have Victor Janelli with us. He's here to help explain to us the Discord unique bot. If you've never heard of it, it's a Discord bot you can invite to your server, and it is very quick and easy way to use BrightID. You can just plop it into your Discord and start using BrightID right away. So he's going to talk to us about that, some of the new upcoming features, and yeah, so welcome Victor. And then we'll have a chance for any, if there's any like general questions we want to ask about BrightID. So yeah, go ahead and tell us anything you want to about yourself, Victor, and yeah, just take it away.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Adam. Yeah, just a little bit about me. I've been doing like kind of Web3 dev work for about 3 years now. Sorry, guys. There's my alarm that I set actually for this meeting that's going off. So my bad. I got interrupted. But yeah, the Discord built the Discord unique bot. Based it's out of a need actually. I didn't talk to BrightID before I built it. Kind of just took some inspiration from some other collaborations you guys did. One of the DAOs I'm a part of, she needed a way to kind of filter out bots and spam from source cred contributions. And I'd heard of BrightID. I'd been to the couple events, couple DAO Rush Week like initiatives, and I thought, hey, these guys are perfect. They seem like a great team, and I like what they're doing. And so I took your guy before you even had an SDK. I just took some other code bases, mashed them into a bot, and stuck it in the Discord channel and said, hey, I didn't even know who was really running it. I was like, hey, who can help me with this? And then Adam messaged me back, and then it was really like a firework. Within 2 days, the bot was up and going, and like people were like, I think it got added to like 100 Discords in like a week. Like it was like instantly popping off. I think now we're at like 400 or 500 stars on GitHub, which for me is like huge. Like got a bunch of stars, and people seem to enjoy using it, and it works. It helps keep bots out of our airdrops that we do every week, and I'm sure it helps other communities as well do the same thing. Yeah, kind of like a little bit of magic happened. Like DAO's actually working, I think, as a use case.
Yeah, I think it's a really good like first step. Just to give an example, so SongADAO came to us and is like, so Jonathan Mann, the founder of SongADAO, said, hey, one of the important things is we want to keep the whales out. So there's kind of like 2 things you need to do to be a member of SongADAO. One is you need to buy a song, or to like prove that you're involved with the SongADAO project, or you can like work your way in through ThingaDAO. But so you have one of those two methods of getting in, but then we want to limit it so that it doesn't matter whether you have like you've bought 100 song NFTs or 1 song NFT. Everybody has equal weight in this DAO, and we think BrightID is going to be perfect for this. And so we're like, yeah. And the very first thing he did, because he wanted to just get it up and running, was he added Discord unique bot to the server, and then people could get that unique role. So that was like a super fast way. And then he kind of evolved from there, and now they're using a snapshot strategy. So now they've got their DAO has actually been built. But before the DAO was built, they wanted to, like, he didn't want to be the dictator. He wanted from day one, he wanted to have the community help decide things. So he just brought in Discord unique bot, said, okay, anyone that's got the verified role, you can start voting. We're going to choose what DAO framework we're going to use. We're going to like make all these early decisions. So I think it's a great, like really early first step for people who are just getting started with BrightID. Like it's a super easy way to get it going.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I think one of the powers of it is how easy it is to onboard. You just one click it into your Discord server, bot.brightid.org, and you don't even have to like set any configurations if you don't want to. There are a couple configs, but none of them are necessary to use it. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yes.
let's talk about, so sorry, what were you going to say, Philip?
I was going to say another thing that we used it for early on, which I think would be a great opportunity for others, is we held a poll for something that mattered. So we were deciding a hackathon prize, and we wanted to know, one of the categories was who the community thought should win a prize, and we just held a regular old Discord poll, but we did it in a channel that was restricted to verified users, so we could just make sure that each person had one vote in that poll, which is important because the poll was impactful. So it's just a quick way to segment down part of your Discord for where you want to make sure there's no garbage in there.
Yeah, and there's kind of like some interesting, so we talked about how SongADAO transitioned into the BrightID snapshot strategy. There's other transition pathways possible once you kind of like outgrow just using the BrightID unique bot. So another really interesting way, if you want to like stick with Discord as your primary way to deliberate and interact with DAO members, what you can do is Gnosis has this cool thing called Zodiac, which allows you to take a Gnosis multisig and have Discord kind of like run the multisig. So rather than having like the signers execute proposals in the multisig, you can hook it into your Discord. So you could have a Discord role. You could use the verified role that the Discord unique bot gives out, and have that have those voters actually control a multisig. So no coding required. You just get your Gnosis safe, install Zodiac, get have your Discord server, install BrightID unique bot, and then you just hook those two pieces together, and now you've got basically a functioning DAO that can like control finances and stuff like that just by hooking up those ready to go pieces. So it's pretty cool. So one thing I wanted to ask was, so I'm happy to say that that you put up a proposal to get more funding to improve Discord bot. That passed, so that's awesome. I think that's great that our DAO is supportive of that. I think it's really important. So what are some of the things that we can look forward to on the roadmap for Discord unique bot?
I think it's a super useful bot, so naturally I want to like improve it. Like I said, it spurred from such a fast like sprint. Like, it was almost a hackathon level of sprint, and then I kind of went back and I added a couple more necessary features that people were asking for, including like customized role names, so not every server is verified. A guilds feature, so you can see what guilds are in the, like they're using the bot, and other things like that. But one of the main, I think, hiccups was we used a raid guild this last hack session to help us create the sponsorships feature, which is going to allow Discord servers to own a pool of sponsorships and then start actually sponsoring their people in their Discord server, which will hopefully smooth out the process of getting verified in BrightID, like as easy as it can. And the problem was I had to, when you're in these dev environments and you don't have like a lot of setup, there's a lot of like keys and like admin keys and certain things to get the bot working that I hadn't really set up for work on per se, other than like me and Adam. So one of the big things is actually getting the bot set up to be able to be iterated on by anybody, right? To be able to be go in and have a dev, I call it a staging environment, but there's developer branch or whatever you want to call it. And that way people can come in and add features and actually test the bot without needing access to the admin keys, right? Which is like, it's better for devs, it's better for us. Yeah, so I just set up most of that stuff last week. And then this week, the other thing too is actually making the bot type safe. I'm a huge fan of not getting what we call runtime bugs, which is you run the code and it's working in your computer, but then you run it and then it just decides to not work, right? And JavaScript is famous for having these runtime bugs. And so having, hey, Jose, I see you. And so having a type safe or really as type safe as possible bot will get a lot of these bugs squashed before I even have to like squash them, which is awesome. So that's our first initiative, is kind of preparing it properly for more dev work to be done, because I do think that there's so much that this bot can do, and it's just like we're just hitting the bare minimum of what the bot is capable of, I think. And I want to set it up for success in the long run, and not just create some spaghetti code base, So the first one is just kind of some what we call code tech debt, yeah. So that's the first one. I can keep going if you'd like. There's two more.
Yeah, we're opening the door for more developers to come in, making it easy for them to just jump into the code base and start hacking on it. Yeah, that's really important for an open source project. So go on. It sounded like you're about to say something else.
Let me see if I can get the order right. I know everything I have to do, but I'm not sure which is Epoch 2 and which is 3.
Yeah, I can pull up the forum post. I think you laid everything out really well there, and I can read it back to you because I know you're right in the sprint number 1, but there's 2 more coming.
I sit there and I'm just like, when bot, when bot improvements.
Yeah, when bot improvements. So one of the ones that I'm excited about, and I think this may actually be the 3rd sprint, but a way to get sponsored through BrightID Unique Bot, because that was the confusing thing, because up until that point, everything that integrated with BrightID was going through the app model, where it's like, okay, you created an app and then your users are going to come into BrightID. If they're already BrightID users, great, you don't have to pay anything. This again goes back to funding the public good model of BrightID. It allows you to basically pay per user, sort of, but you don't have to, because we have this thing where the most important thing in BrightID is that everyone can use it. All apps can use it. All people can use it. But if your app has the resources to be able to pay for the users you bring in, then we want to be able to accept that payment. But the problem is that the model was not set up for something like, so the app is actually Discord, but then there's a whole bunch of potential servers within Discord. So we needed to create a new way to divide those up. So I think what we came up with, the idea that we came up with, is a really good idea, which basically when people, so there's this sponsorship dashboard that you use if you're an app that wants to sponsor people in BrightID, where you purchase the sponsorships and then you assign them to your app. And so basically what we're doing is, in the Discord Unique Bot, is we're tracking and we're saying, okay, we're going to look at the address that was used to assign sponsorships to the Discord app, and then you register with the Discord Unique Bot. You register your address that you're going to use to assign those sponsorships, and then it credits those to your server. So that way, a bunch of different servers, it can kind of keep track of which server is contributing how many sponsorships each server is contributing. So that's one. Do you have anything more to say about that?
Sure, yeah, and I can tell you that that feature is actually not Epoch 3. That's actually precursoring any of these bot upgrades.
Okay.
There's like 1 or 2 lines of code left to like, we use Raid Guild just because I was busy, and she sponsored a Raid Guild raid to do that. And I think we have 1 bug or 1 review that we're waiting to fix, and then it's live. I'll push it and everything. I think me and you have taken a look at it, and it's, again, yeah, you guys did a really good job with the structure because the code isn't very convoluted. It's pretty much, add 1 when 1 gets or subtract 1 when 1 gets used, and add whenever the number goes up, add whatever goes up, and it's pretty simple in that way. So it's not too, that's pretty good. Yeah, I think that feature is the one I'm most excited for as well. Sponsorships for me, I'm always, I have onboarded a bunch of people into BrightID. I was a star before like the stars were born, in a way, because it's like people want to commit work to the DAO, and then I say, well, first, you got to get sponsored on BrightID to even put messages in our server. You have to be sponsored on, or not messages, to even put emojis in our server. You have to be sponsored by BrightID, and so it's like I have to tell them, okay, come in our server, we'll help you get verified, but then you got to go somewhere else to get the sponsorship, and it's a mess, So this will be a big upgrade.
Have you sent people through the ED faucet, or what's the onboarding flow that you've been using so far?
I think actually the OneHive faucet was the most common one people used. I haven't, I was not like super, because I didn't use the ED faucet. I wasn't super familiar with the flow.
Okay.
It probably would have been better to use in hindsight now that I've like taken a look at it.
It is probably the easiest
Yeah,
one.
it's a pretty easy one. I mean, you really just click a button and then you get sponsored and get your. I mean, actually, they're all pretty easy nowadays. Like getting sponsored through ClearFund is really easy. They're all kind of like self-serve in a way. So there's a lot of these faucet ones are pretty much self-serve. It's like you go there, you click a button, you collect you get sponsored in BrightID, and you collect a small amount of whatever token they're giving away. So they all are pretty easy.
That's good to hear.
In the case of ClearFund, you're not actually getting a token, you're signing up for their service, but it's self-sponsored. It's like you pay the gas and you get sponsored is basically what it is.
Now it's going to be even easier. Hopefully, now you don't have to even leave Discord, which is awesome.
Yeah, you just show up.
Yeah,
you don't have to do any other apps, and you get sponsored. So one of the things I'm looking at on here, so it talks about how some of the things that have been, so there's going to be new bot commands. I think you talked about some of those. Are there any other bot commands that you haven't mentioned yet that are going to be added?
Well, there's a bunch of UX upgrades that Discord's actually launched for their bot program, or whatever you want to call it, how they support bots, and it would make the BrightID bot much easier to use, in my opinion. One of the things is they call them slash commands, and if you're using Discord, you've definitely used slash commands at some point. Instead of having to kind of guess what the command is that you're doing, slash commands will pop up with a list of the command, and you can just click it like with your mouse, and it'll have a description of what it does and everything. There's also like you can have inline buttons, which means that we can just click. We can have a button for them to click, like connect BrightID, or send me a QR code, or whatever it is. So it's a little more accessible. And then there's also other things, like right now the bot DMs you a message, and even though that works, I found people get lost. They're like, oh, where's the DM? Where's this? You can actually have inline messages that only one person only the person that made the command can see.
Nice.
And that way it's inline, it's right there. Lots of UX improvements there that are really, really, helpful. Even though they seem small, they'll make it just a much more polished experience. There's also like it says opt-in upgrades right there. I guess you don't have to upgrade the bot if you don't want to, there, I believe like most versions of the bot right now are backwards compatible. So if you don't want to use sponsorships, I guess you don't have to.
Yeah, so
So
I
I
was going to
guess
ask about that. Is there
with
going to
that,
be like what's the experience going to be? Is it for server admins to add themselves to to opt into the sponsorship thing? Is that going to be a bot command, or is there going to be like a separate UI for that? How do you envision that?
yeah. So, well, I mean, there definitely will be a separate UI in the future. But for the time being, it's just a bot command that
Okay.
basically says, is this person an admin in the server? If they're an admin, let them change the address that they are linking, you know. Uh, and
Yeah,
that's
the
pretty
address
much
that
it.
they're going to buy the sponsorships from. Yep. Or assign the
Right.
sponsorships
Exactly.
from. Yep.
Right. Right. And then we
Does that sponsoring happen on ID chain or mainnet?
I think we set it up to happen on ID chain because that's by far the cheapest. Like that would be the one to support first, right?
So,
If I remember right, Victor, is that right? I'm
yeah,
almost
it's
positive.
ID.
Yeah.
so how can we make it easy for a server that has not played around with ID chain? Like it's to get your first ID chain sponsorships takes a bunch of different steps.
Getting ID chain added to your wallet, I think we both like we talked about the ED faucet and how simple that is to get ID chain added to MetaMask and to get your ED so that you can start using ID chain. So I don't think that's an issue. I think the step that you're probably talking about is using the bridge. Like you've got some, it's like, okay, I'm going to have to pay the gas to bring over some dye over to ID chain. Then I'm going to have to figure out how to use this SP dashboard thing where I have to like go to like ID swap, buy IDSP. Then I've got to like go back to the dashboard and assign them. And so like I've got to learn how to use ID swap. I've got to learn how to use the bridge. I've got to learn how to use the dashboard. And so you've got like
That's
basically
a horrible user
three,
experience.
three new things you need to learn just to be able to like sponsor your users. Yeah.
We gotta make a shortcut version of that for people that don't want to do all of that.
Yeah, I like having talked to Gitcoin recently, I realized that they're just like, okay, we have $6,000 we want to spend on sponsorships. Can we just like drop it in a bucket somewhere and someone else like does all the steps? So yeah, I think we should think about like how to streamline that.
Well, it's like
Um,
right. I would love for there to be a place where it's like, okay, you've input your address. Well, there's also just there's a place that you can send either DAI or ETH to, and you send it, and that amount of SP will be acquired on your behalf and assigned. And all you had to do was, gosh, you could even do it from mainnet. Send 500 mainnet DAI or $500 worth of ETH to this address, and boom, on the other end.
Yeah, I think you probably just hit on the answer that people want is yeah, they just I think what we do is we just have an address, and I don't know, we just say like if you want to do it, there's the do it yourself way, and then there's the like let this other, because at the beginning you talked about, well, in the future there's certainly going to be like some sort of business that handles like dealing with sponsorship so that other people don't have to think about it. And so we could just make that like we could say, okay, like, all right, if you want to do it yourself, you can save a 5% fee. If you want to pay the 5% fee, then it's going to go to these nice, friendly people who like they know like they're really good at like pressing all the right buttons, and they'll pay the gas for you and stuff like that. And then they'll just get you set up, and they'll just send you like the receipt. Like here you can see like this is the proof that we did everything you asked, and here you go. You didn't have to do anything except drop your money in this bucket. So maybe it's time to set that up.
Is there like a tutorial out there that exists, like a step
Yeah, but
one,
look,
step two?
that's the thing. Like there's a tutorial
That
for
might be
each
a-
one of these pieces, but there's no like end-to-end tutorial. There's like, first use this thing, first use the
Yeah.
Omni bridge, then first use the ED faucet, so you can add ID chain, and then use the Omni bridge, then use SP dashboard. Like there's nothing that like ties everything together in a end-to-end solution. I mean, I should write that doc for people that want to do it themselves, but then I think we should also make I think that there's some cool people in our community that we trust pretty well, that we can start. Yeah, we can just start a service and be like, all right, guys, like you're basically staking your like your future reputation on how you handle these funds that come in. But like this, people are going to drop funds in the bucket, and you've got to do the right thing with these funds. And
effectively, what I want it to look like, I want it to look just like the Omni bridge, right? Where Ether or DAI, whatever mainnet, and then you have to wait until there's 10 confirmations or something, and then boom, that like the SP just happens once that mainnet transaction has sufficiently closed that we can be comfortable, so that the person applying the SP knows that they're not going to get ripped off, just like the bridge works. Is there any reason it can't work that way?
No, it should work that way. And it's funny that you bring that up as an analogy, because I mean, that's exactly how those Omni bridges work. And I think like almost no one realizes that, but like it probably makes Vitalik want to scream when he looks at because like there's billions of dollars locked up in these different chains, and those bridges it's basically just like what I just said, where it's like the only thing protecting those is the reputation of the signers of the bridge. They could just like collaborate or collude and just steal everything. I mean, it's worse than a 51% attack. They could just take everything out of there and give it to themselves. So it's like we're putting an insane amount of trust in like a handful of people every time we use one of these other chains. And so it's kind of the same thing, but it'd be on a smaller scale, because obviously we're dealing with a lot less money.
It's way smaller because the majority of the assets are ours.
Yeah, right.
Right, because the way I want it to work, it's not a two-way bridge, right?
Right.
It's mainnet money or goes in.
Yep.
Sponsorships automatically get assigned. Like it's going straight from money to final end state of the sponsorships. And the only time you had to trust the service was the time between when you sent the money in and when the sponsorships went out. So it's a really short time frame that you're trusting anybody.
Yep, exactly. That's right. Yeah, so that is the nice thing. So unlike a bridge where they can steal the money, like this sponsorship thing, yeah, they have this short time frame where they could run off with your money, but they're not increasing this giant hoard. It's like the hoard is not getting bigger and bigger. Like the honey pot is not growing and growing to billions of dollars. Like at most there's like, maybe like 10 or 20 or $100,000 at any given time that someone plops in. And then if, either that gets stolen and everyone freaks out and is like, oh man, $50,000 just got robbed, and let's not, this process is shut down, or it just works and there's no breach of trust and nothing gets stolen. And yeah, but there's never going to be like some $1 million honeypot in there or $1 billion honeypot.
I can't do any good to code that for you, but I've got lots of SP and I'm happy to facilitate that in any of the economic ways.
Nice. Yeah, well, I think the nice thing about this is it's going to be something, I mean, we've seen a need for it, and it's something that can easily sustain itself, because they just take a tax. Basically, they just say, okay, it's kind of like your accountant saying, yeah, I'll do your taxes for you, and here's the fee. It's like, okay, we will push the buttons for you, we'll pay the gas for you, we'll do the busy work for you, and you'll end up with what you want, and we'll take this small percentage fee or whatever. Or it could just be a flat fee, whatever they decide. But yeah, I mean, I think we have enough trusted people in the community that would be willing to do something that basically amounts to busy work to earn a fee. So I think we can find them.
And the busy work can be all automated.
Yeah. Well, the busy work is not automated. I mean, they still need to push the buttons. That's the thing, is like, I mean, you can kind of automate things, but
Nobody pushes the button on the Omni Bridge.
Yeah, actually they do. You push a button. So the last time I used the Omni Bridge, I put the thing in the Omni Bridge, and then I came back a little bit later and I pressed the execute button. So I had to pay the gas. And so I had to push a couple buttons to make that work. And so it's the same sort of thing. Like,
you need to submit one transaction of like your mainnet asset in, and then 20 minutes later, your XDAI asset just pops out the other end.
yeah.
And there was no person taking a specific action other than you sending the initial transaction. There's no person sitting there doing anything.
Well, I mean, like I said, I'm the person that has to take two actions, but there's no other person unless something goes wrong, and then you bug that person. You're like, wait a minute, why didn't these Omni Bridge signers automatically sign? And so you bug one of them and like poke them in the keybase and say like, why didn't you sign my transaction? But anyways, so it reminds me of something that Giveth used to do, and this was when gas first started becoming expensive. So this was actually like, I don't know, I want to say 2018, 2017 or something. Before that, like, gas was never ever expensive. But they decided that they were doing enough transactions that they wanted to have a Rinkeby bridge. And so all the transactions from that day or whatever happened on Rinkeby, and then there was this automated thing that kind of compiled them all into this nice list that could be reviewed by an operator. And then the operator reviewed everything that was going to happen and said, okay, these are the transfers that are going to happen on mainnet. And then I just clicked the button, and so it was kind of like a manual side chain, if you will. And so I think it'll be up to whoever sets this up. I think it could start out as like a manual thing where everything is done manually, but they're just hitting the same 5 buttons every time because they're used to doing that. But eventually it could become completely automated. But it's a little scary to completely automate it, especially at first, because you kind of want to review everything and make sure that it's.
The other thing is, when we start this, I don't want to jump through all the steps we possible. Like, let's not buy the SP. I'll just put up the SP, the ID chain SP as a lump sum, so that we don't have, like, eventually we'll want the thing to go and source and figure out how it buys SP and whatnot. But at the beginning, we can abstract a bunch of that away, and it's just they send an input on one chain, they get SP assigned on the other to whatever.
Well, you might be able to reach a better automation using something like Connext. It might be a little more integrated, but Connext uses stuff called state channels, which I know they're working on, like cross-chain contract interaction. So you could like send F in one way, and then it'll call the sponsorship contract, mint the sponsorships, and then you could send it back. But again, that's a little less trust, right? Which is good, but it's like it's much more coding, right? It's much more like development work. I could see that being a possibility as well, especially if we have the ID to back it up. I'm not sure if it works with one of the bridges, but I'm sure it would.
that's so yeah, you could potentially script everything, because the OmniBridge comes with this thing. It's kind of like built on this thing called the arbitrary message bridge, the AMB. OmniBridge is just a layer on top of that for transferring funds, but you can script anything you want into the AMB. So you could script like all this stuff that we've just been talking about, like buy the SP, assign the SP. You could script those
Right.
other two things into the AMB, and then just like have one single UI page that is like, but it's like, so yeah, you could basically roll all the steps into one step, and then it would still, I'm trying to think of how much it actually simplifies things, because you would still have to say, okay, this is the thing I want to assign them to. Like you pick Discord, unique bot. This is
Right.
how much I want to send in. Like you still have to do some things. And then the thing is, it's kind of like you have to make a decision. Do you want to like buy a huge amount and assign them all at once so that you never have to do it again, or do you want to do this once a month? And so it still doesn't completely automate everything, even if you had that kind of interface, but it does make it so you don't have to do things on two different chains, I guess. So that's nice.
Right.
But like what
At least
Gitcoin is doing, which I think is interesting, is they realize that you get a discount by buying subs, which is true. And then you have to periodically collect, what is it called? It's not called harvest. It's called something. What is it called? Do you remember? Claim. Yeah. So you have to periodically claim sponsorships from your subs. But what they want to do is they want to buy $6,000 worth of subs, claim as needed, claim and assign as needed. So what they're going to do is they're going to assign someone, and I'm going to train that person so that they know how to claim and assign. And every month or so, when they get an alert that says, hey, you're low on sponsorships, then like some alert pops up and says, it probably will have the instructions in it, like go here, press claim, press assign, you're done. And then like an actual human will be doing that once a month or whatever.
I was and that actually leads like into an interesting thing, because there's one of the other deliverables for this bot is a front end to visualize what's going on in the bot. And one of the things I want to put in it is at least some direct link to buy sponsorships, not necessarily a bridge, but something that's like, hey, go get more, and if I think maybe having even a document or a video on how to do that would be really helpful. So that might be something good to just as a first step say, hey, here's the current flow, the manual flow. But yeah, having like hey, are you low, or an alert that says you're low on sponsorships, right? Go buy more here. Or yeah, that's a big one in the front. I mean, I'm the worst at like making like over it, doing too much work, or not committing to the work, but just going the extra like little bit, like because I think it looks cool or something. But I would love to put that in the front end, along with a couple other really cool features. I think that'll be fun to for BrightIDs to people to see. One of them is like metrics, like, oh, this is how many verified users you have. This is like what's happening, in the bot. I think I have a little bit laid out in a UI document somewhere that or I don't know if I have the actual stuff. I had it in my brain, that's for sure, when I was doing it. But yeah, it's like, hey, here's how many verified users you have. Here's how many sponsorships you have. Here's how many people have been sponsored by your server. Stuff like that is easily like queryable from like the data we're getting, and that'll be really cool to display like per server, and then have like some admin features in there as well. One of the things, like we have this whole guild command where you can go in and you can type, right now it's !guilds, and it'll bring up every server that's using the BrightID bot. But you can add your invite link as well, right? So you can say, hey, come to our server and do our thing, but no one really uses it because it's like there's no visual, like it's just hard to do the admin. Right?
It's like a fire hose. Like I look at it, I'm like, there's just too many servers. Like I don't even know how to see what
it's
I would
listed
love to
by,
just continue this conversation. It's all fascinating. I'm worried about the Spanish party that was supposed to start 9 minutes ago that supposedly can't open until we close.
I don't think that is true. Is anyone like sending you a message? I think they got that worked out so that they don't have to use this same channel. I could be wrong. Is anyone like saying that they can't start it or anything like that?
Actually we cannot open the room. I tried that.
Oh, okay. So it is a
host is Passler, so we need to end first, and after that we can open that.
Okay. That's fine. Well, I would like to thank our guest, Victor. Thank you so much for those updates. Thank you for our guest. And I will say, like, definitely some of these cool ideas that you're having that don't fit in that sprint, I think we can commission some more of those, because I know that I would love to have an example of just a click button way, like a one-click way to go from like an alert saying you need sponsorships to buy the sponsorship, and then you sign something in MetaMask. That would be awesome. So like if we can, like any of these cool ideas you're having, like let's get them commissioned and let's get them built.
And if anything's blocking you, let us know.
Yep.
We've got folks that want to help you succeed. So please ask.
So thank you so much for being here.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, it's doubly beneficial for me, so it works out. A lot of the inspiration is just wanting to use a better product as well, which it's luckily it works out. Like you guys built a great base layer, and now I can build on top of it. Real quick, I think the bot is like perfect for Discord as well, where right now we're in the Wild West. I love to see a little bit more like green pilling in the Discord, right? Where there's like, hey, we have some Sybil resistance, right? Like we have some good stuff that like makes it feel a little more human and a little less like automated and body, for like a better words. But yeah, it's cool. Again, sorry I was late. I really felt bad. Like that sucks. But I'm glad I got to come in still and like talk to you guys about it. It was awesome.
Yeah, thanks so much. All right, guys, have a good one. Thanks for coming. See you later.
Thank you. Bye.
See you guys.